So what is something that you personally struggle with in the communications role? And I'll share an example of mine just so
Yeah.
um, everyone has to share one. That's the rule.
Okay.
So me, I'm a moderator of many Reddit communities. So something that I personally struggle with is I struggle with empathizing with the user who comes in and just spews toxicity and spews very angry vitriol at me. Like they come in and say, "Hey, you're what's wrong with this website? You're ruining it for everybody. Nobody wants you here." Blah 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 blah. I have a hard time sitting down and being like, "Okay, but what's the message behind that? Why is he upset?"
Yeah. Um, that one's tough. That one, I mean, there's so many personal instances that I like relate to that really hard, and so it's hard for me to even think of any other one because that's such a broad one of just like people having trouble expressing themselves in like a non-inflammatory way. Um, the easiest thing to do is just kind of leave the situation and disconnect, right? But that's not always the most productive. I've found that I mean, I hate to steal your answer, but it's something that I'm struggling with too. But I also like I it applies to my personal life, right? And like working
Mhm.
with coworkers because I think a lot of times people will express themselves, especially over writing, in a way that is like weirdly passive aggressive and or kind of accusatory in some small way. And I've found the thing that I've been finding over the last couple of years, and I've been really trying to like grow in relation to this, is if you give people like the benefit of the doubt and just try to get them to restate what they really mean, or and one way to do this is to say, did you mean this? Is this the thing that you're concerned about? Like in a really sincere, not at all, you don't send that energy back at them. But if you go, so you're saying this, right? I find that so many times, not every time, not I don't know what the ratio is, but so many times people will come back and be like, "Yeah, that's actually what I mean." And then it's like their whole tone is shifted because you're just showing them that you respect them enough to try to figure out what they really mean instead of like engaging with whatever shit they threw at you.
Mm.
Um, it definitely applies to talking to players, but like man, I found that to be like talking to other adults, coworkers, that kind of thing. It's like really, really valuable there too. It's something that I'm still not perfect at, but I'm by a long shot, but I'm trying to get better at. I feel like I stole your
Yeah.
answer, but
No,
I
no,
just
I
it
think that
resonates with
it's
me.
that was a pretty wide answer I gave anyway. I feel like that's probably one of the hardest things for anyone who deals with
Yeah.
people who are angry at them a lot. Um, oh, we lost.
Uh oh. Goodbye, Larry.
Something that was I wanted to focus on was when you were talking about um, communicating with people over text, and sometimes you lose the sort of tone of the conversation in that medium. And when I was
hmm
younger, I was fully on board the text only train. I'm like, no, there's no reason to ever call anyone. There's no reason to ever communicate through voice. Text is the perfect
Yeah.
medium. I was a really fast typer at the time. I've actually lost some typing speed over the years. But I was like, yeah, texting, it's fully superior to voice in every way. But the older I
Yeah.
got and the more situations that I got into, like where you said where tone can get miscommunicated very easily over text, I'm like, okay, this is why the voice format exists. This is why people still need to get into calls, or if possible, get into person to person conversation, because you can just lose so much context and so much personality just over that text. Like
Right.
I've talked to so many of my friends who are just not great text communicators, and they'll spark debates and arguments and conversations totally unintentionally just because of that disconnect between the two mediums.
Yeah. I personally feel that I am way more effective talking to someone in person than I am over text, which is crazy to say as someone who's like paid to communicate over text primarily. I don't I feel that I just am not good enough to be able to be taken to like transmit my meaning 100% accurately over text. Like almost ever, because even things like format sends a message, right? Like if you write to someone an email that is really long, it's like 2,000 words long, there's already a weird tonal thing happening there, which is that you are monologuing at someone. if I have a lot to say to someone and I go up to them and I'm gonna have about 2,000 words worth of stuff to say, I can do so many things in person that prepares them for that in a way that lets them know that they're being respected, right? That isn't just like, hey, listen here, sit down. I'm about to rant at you for an hour. What I'll do is be like, hey man, there's this problem that it's super complex. So let me just give you the rundown, like here to right, and then I'll do all that. I can do that in text, but even just being hit with an email that long feels like threatening. You know what I mean? Like text is it comes with all these weird there's all this meaning associated with each sentence you write that isn't even in the words. It's in other things like the format and the length, that kind of thing. So
The
yeah, I
period at the end. If you put a period at the
the
end,
p-
are you
yeah, what
being
does that mean?
angry?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
being definitive? Or is it just being
Yeah.
proper punctuation? It's terrifying. It's
We
a
have way
terrifying
more
medium to communicate it.
we have way more tones like that we use or inflections that we use than we do punctuation marks. 'Cause we have like 3
Well, that's why
punctuation
that
marks.
is the literal reason why emojis exist, to
Right, it is.
translate
Yeah.
tones of conversation into text. And that's
But
like,
you send a
Yeah.
work email with a bunch of emojis in it,
yeah, no,
and you're
it
like,
doesn't
"Am
work.
I being?"
It doesn't work in the business yet.
The only people I know who send emojis in work emails are actually being passive aggressive as all hell.
Oh no.
Like, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like the
Well, I
opposite of
mean,
what they're feeling. They'll send the
they can be
smiley face.
used to translate passive aggressiveness.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah, the smile emoji can be taken very many ways. I think
Totally.
But that's
Slack
why.
is a great way to communicate with people. Because it's like you get to use those emojis in a less threatening situation where you can. It's not like a email. I think email is like the. I don't like email personally. I think
Yeah,
it leaves no room for rebuttal in any meaningful way.
right.
I mean, it has its place in the communications world, but wow,
Just to chime. That's.
we tangented off to emojis and email pretty hard.
I was gonna say
Um,
just to throw my communication style in there. I like to communicate in gifs. Uh, just primarily. Like I try to.
Just primarily.
okay,
I
first
try
of
not
all,
to use words.
Let me stop you right
Yeah.
there. I'm gonna roll back the clock about 10 seconds.
Sorry,
You communicate via excuse me, what?
gifs.
Oh no, no, we're not. No, we're not going that tangent. No,
Okay.
he can say it the way he wants to say it. I don't like it. I don't endorse it. But we're not doing it. I refuse.
All right, just I
Um,
threw I like all right, I panicked and I said gifs. I use Giphy, all right? So I do say gifs. I
He
just
panicked.
panicked, all right? I'm sorry.
I don't
I'm
believe that for
sorry,
one
Larry.
second.
You are the weakest link. You're being kicked off the show. No, but I think emojis or sorry, GIFs are really just a like the next level of emojis. It's just like what's a GIF but a more expressive way to show emotion. Like you could either have a
I
little
mean,
guy with like a smiley face and his tongue sticking out, or you could have Taylor Swift's with the smiley face and her tongue sticking out. I don't know.
wait, is
My
that it?
my mother definitely feels more comfortable expressing herself with gifs than with words at this point. In our text messages, that's all I get from her. It's kind of really weird.